Hanji sat sri akal ji. I know. How are you? So nice to meet you.
Real talk. My goal is to ask you some questions you've never been asked before. I want to take a stroll through your mind. Ready to get vulnerable?
Mr. Anil Kapoor, Punjabi aa gaye oye. I'm very happy to meet you.
Thank you. Same here.
Very, very happy.
Same here.
And I don't always get a Punjabi person sing across from me. Actually, that's where I want to start. I was raised in a Punjabi household, but I was raised in Toronto, Canada. I want to know what your Punjabi household was like growing up. Paint me a picture. What was it like growing up, Anil Kapoor, in a Punjabi household?
I think the same. Food and mom, dad, a lot of respect, a lot of love. We started in a small little home in Chembur, and then of course we progressed from one room to three rooms, to two rooms, and then three rooms, and same parathas, pulao, gobi the pulao, and rajma chawal, bharta, that kind of food. And mom and dad would speak in Punjabi, but because I was born in Mumbai, so it was very mixed. It was Hindi, English, and that kind of more Bombaya. That's why I could do those roles. Initial my career when I did those films, it came very naturally to me.
Yeah. I know you're Punjabi because you answered this question with food first and foremost. I said, what was it like at home? And you said, Rajma chawal. That's a very Punjabi thing.
Yeah. I lived in a place which was very cosmopolitan, very diverse. Matter of fact, it was, there were Christians, there were Muslims, there were Tamilians, there were Hindus, there were Parsis. So I had a fantastic childhood. I that's the best part of my life, my childhood. And a lot of fun.
Who all lived in the house?
So we were four of us, three sons and a daughter, and my mom and dad. And sometimes my grandparents would come and stay with us. So it would be almost 4 to 6, 8 of us in one room.
And you're the youngest, eldest?
I was the middle son, yeah.
Tell me more about mom and dad. What did they do? What were they like?
Well, my dad was a very, he passed away. My mom also passed away. Both of them have passed away. And my dad was a great guy. He was very, very humble, very honest, very, with a lot of integrity. He came to Mumbai, I think in the late 50s or 50s, I'm not sure. And then he became an intern and an assistant with K. Asif. And then he became a manager to an actor. And wherever I went in this film fraternity, I think wherever I went, I said, they would tell me that what a good man he was, what a nice man he was, what an honest man he was. Not that how successful he was, And first it was, they always spoke to me how phenomenal a human being he was. So that was my dad. And mom was known to be the best cook in this film fraternity. So there's no filmmaker, there's no actor, and it's like a folklore. Food cooked by Mrs. Surinder Kapoor, or Anil's first Mrs. Surinder Kapoor, then Anil's mom, and then Sonam's grandmother. And so it's legendary. Her food was legendary. So we used to stay in Chembur, which is near RK Studios. And no matter who was shooting, the food would go for my home. She was like, elder statesman, and whoever in this industry needed some kind of advice for any marriage or children are born, or, she was really like a real mother to the entire people who were around us, family, friends, and all. So, yeah.
And I love that you said that your dad was described as a really good man. And I like that you also said they said that before they talked about his success, which is very rare, because usually when we think about men, we usually do define people by their success.
Yeah, success, how much money, or this and that,
right,
and all the achievements and all. But his biggest achievement, I feel, which is very important for everybody, is that you're known more as a human being, and more how much you've helped and been positive, and so that was my dad. Yeah.
That's what other people said about your parents to you, but how were they as parents to you? How did they raise you? Describe their parenting techniques. Were they strict? Were they liberal?
No,
were you scared of them?
No, they were very liberal, and they let me do what I wanted to do and follow my dreams. And that's what I've done with my children too. My dad's dad wanted him to do something, like he wanted him to pursue a kind of a career which he wanted, which he felt was not, which was kind of detrimental for what he wanted to achieve, and that really delayed a lot of things in his life. So when I said that I want to be an actor, he said, okay, go ahead. I said, but I can't make a film for you. You have to find work for yourself. So that's what was great, because he let me do what I wanted to do and follow, pursue my dreams.
Are you close with your siblings?
Of course I am. I'm very close to my siblings, but I started pursuing a career very young, at a very young age, almost when I was 18 or 19, I think. So first I was in school, obviously, when you're in school, and then I just went into university. And before I could really complete my studies, my dad was not well. My dad had a heart attack, and and he was a film producer, so it was very difficult to get leading men in his films and actors, and it was a tough thing. So I said, I have to become an actor. I have to become a leading man. So I and that time, so trying to pursue my career, I really couldn't really give that kind of time, show my feelings. I was constantly more wanting to make a career and become an actor and get work, get a job. So I was always trying to find a job. So there was not really time. So among my siblings, all of them, they are very emotional. They show a lot of, they meet each other and all. I've always been like a little aloof. So they wonder sometimes that I've been away, trying to pursue my dreams. So I'm close, but not that typically close. But I don't know if they think that, I don't know how they think about me. I've never asked them.
Should we bring them out? Let's bring out the 3 siblings. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
So I am, it's been, that's, I think, sometimes one of my regrets,
Have you ever asked your sister what it was like growing up with all brothers?
No.
What do you think it was like growing up with all brothers? You tell me, if you had to best put yourself in your sister's shoes, what was that dynamic like?
So nobody's ever asked me about my sister. You're the first one to ask me about my sister. So your question is, because I'm gone into a kind of a nostalgia with my sister.
That's good. My question was, first asked, have you ever asked your sister what it was like growing up with 3 brothers? And you said no.
No, I've
And
not.
so my follow-up question was, if you were to put yourself in your sister's shoes growing up, what do you think that experience was like for her?
She was very much like my mom. They cry at the drop of a hat. It takes them just a fraction of a second for them to start crying. So that's my visual of my mom and my sister. They're happy, they start crying. They're a little hurt, they're upset, they start crying. So that's the visual, and that's the feeling I have. Very loving, very emotional, and I think my dad loved her insanely, and my mom, and I think she ultimately, because we were 4 of us, I think because the parents could not really reach out to these boys as much, and we couldn't really spend. You're not one of those who would speak to them or and talk to them and all, or spend so much time. So I think she's the one who, even after marriage, was the actual anchor for them emotionally.
Yeah. When you said your dad was very supportive and liberal and said you should do what you want, was right, and let you be an actor, was he like that with your sister as well?
No, I think she just wanted her to be happy, and and wanted, I think, as what it would be, that she wanted to get married, and we all wanted her to get married, and she got married at a very young age, and she's very, very happy, and we were very surprised. She's a fantastic mother, she's a fantastic wife, and she made a real success. So she's in a joint family, and she's really made a good success of herself.
Why were you worried for her?
I don't know, because she would constantly be crying.
Because she was a crier?
Yeah. She was soft, she was innocent, and very naive, and not so much interested in studies. So.
But you saw your brothers cry?
Your brothers cry, yeah.
Did you ever see your dad cry?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you remember? Why you saw him crying?
Yes, I remember one film of his released, and was supposedly was starring one of the biggest superstars, Rajesh Khanna, and everybody expected it to become a big success, but it was a big failure. And I remember how everybody changed within hours. And he was traveling from Delhi, because you see the films used to release in different states, not on the same day. So he went to Bangalore, and there was no one there to receive him at the airport. And there was, everybody absolutely uh, kind of deserted him, disowned him, and that was shocking. And that's the first time I saw when he was having came back, and he was very, not crying, but I could see that he was very vulnerable and quite almost in tears. Yeah. So that visual is always there in my mind. And that's one of the reasons also, looking at my dad, I always wanted to become a hero, a living man, an actor.
When you saw your dad cry, what went through your head as a kid?
I think he's been my basic motivation. I just wanted to make him happy. I want to be successful. I want to become the biggest star, most successful, most respected, to make him happy, so that he's proud of me. Always.
Okay. I ask all these questions because I've met both of your daughters, Ria and Sonam, who are phenomenal. And they are by far two of the most outspoken, fearless, confident, badass women I have ever met in my life. And you're their father. And so I can't help that your parenting has played a role. I'm not going to give you 100% credit, but I think you've definitely played a role in how they've turned out. And you are, in my opinion, the OG girl dad. Before the term girl dad was even cool. I feel like you figured out how to be a girl dad. And so the reason I'm digging into your childhood is I'm trying to understand what you learned about being a dad from your dad and from your parents that maybe you use, or what you don't use.
I think subconsciously, it's my dad who was so liberal and so, wanted us to be very independent. At least wanted me to be very independent. And same as with my wife. She's a person who's been self-made, and I think giving me credit because I am more seen and people know me more. My wife has been very, but I would say that it's if you see the way both the girls are, I think credit should go more to her and then me. So it's a combination of both of us, yeah, but more she. And the way they are, and confident and all, and of course the idealism, the honesty, the to be yourself and pursue whatever you want to do is obviously comes from me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Being a girl dad wasn't always the proud label it is now. Now it's cool to be a girl dad, but even when I was born, I'm the second daughter in a family. There's only two daughters, and in a lot of cultures, Desi culture as well, daughters sometimes like, oh, you have a daughter, you didn't have a son, but you have two really, really strong daughters. Was that difficult when you had two daughters? Were there people that were disappointed in that? Were you disappointed in having two daughters? Like, how did you navigate that?
Well, of course, the first thing is obviously that they're fit and healthy. So that's the first thing that you think as a father and as a parent. And, as kids, Ria sometimes was not little well few times. So that would worry me. Otherwise, I was never, because Sunita herself is from a family of two girls, and her mother was like a pillar. So the whole atmosphere was more always been in the house dominated by women. They are they would call the shots. So they were I was in a way, listen to them rather than they listening to me. They were different. And that's the way they brought me up. I cannot bring up my children the way they brought me up. So these kind of things, these kind of dynamics have completely changed professionally, personally, emotionally, every decade of my life.
If they were here right now and I said, describe your dad to me, what do you think they would say? Give me the honest. What would they say? What was it like being raised by Anil Kapoor?
I was hardly there. I was hardly there. You know? So if they say it, I'm very, I'm so happy that I've really brought up my children well, that they speak so positively about me. But as a father, definitely, I could have been a much better father. Yeah, I could have spent more time with them. I think somewhere Sunita has been a single parent, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm there, but not there the way parents are and fathers are, parents are, mothers are today, in today's time. I can see the kind of time they spend with their children and all. I was hardly there. I didn't know which class they were in sometimes. And the people, my wife would remind me, it's, Son's birthday is coming or Ria's birthday. Tell me, when is their birthday? I go blank. I don't remember the birthdays,
When is Sonam's birthday?
I don't know. She's going to kill me. I think sometime in June, June 9th.
General month is good. Someone on my team, please Google when Sonam Kapoor's birthday is. Because if it's not June, that's going to be hilarious. If it's not June, you're donating $10,000 to Unicorn Fund right now. I'll tell you that right now.
Please, yeah. Is it June?
June 9th. Kya baat hai?
June 9th, yeah.
Father of the year.
Father, yeah. Thank God, yeah. She would kill me.
So you're admitting that you weren't really there for a lot.
I wasn't there.
That's a really honest, I appreciate you being so honest about that.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
And do you regret that?
No, they're happy. They're very happy. They're well brought up. And yeah, I don't have any, I don't have any regrets, to be honest with you. Because I'm a kind of person who just, doesn't ponder over anything. I just move on. And because I have to be strong and because I am sensitive, but, so for that, I have to, if I start thinking or regret and all those kind of things and all, it'll not be good for the family.
What do you mean it won't be good for the family? In what way?
I just feel that God has given me everything, in a way. So why regret small things? I think because, they're doing so well for themselves and all of them individually. And they're healthy, they're fit, they're happy, they're married, so it's great. And they've done beautifully in their career. They're still doing very well. They're all passionately obsessed with their work also, as much as they're obsessed with the family. So it's a 360-degree life. And that's what I believe in. So life has to be 360 degrees. It's not only professionally, but personally, health, fitness, positiveness. So all these things, I think I try to inculcate these things into them. Yeah. So no regrets. Yeah.
On the note of improvement, do you recall do you ever feel like, when I first had kids or even in the last 15, 17 years, where you were like, this is a mistake I made. I need to improve this about myself as a father. We all make mistakes, as parents especially. I think we're all trying to figure it out and we're all trying to do our best. But can you think of any time where you're like, this was a mistake that I made?
I think I should have, more than my girls, I think I should have spent more time with my son.
Say more. Why do you say that?
Girls, because I feel the son sometimes needs the father more than the mother. Girls are there, but the mother is there and there is a certain kind of connection they have. But the son needs more the father. But I was not there.
What do you think the impact of you not being there was on your son? Is Harsh, right?
Harsh, yeah.
Harsh, yes. What do you think the impact was on Harsh of you not being there?
I don't know. How do I know? I'm still learning. I'm still exploring. I'm trying to, be but the best thing is that we are friends. And sometimes I feel, was it right for me to just be friends? But always been a friend. From the time he came into his senses and I was in his senses, I've never really tried to be a father to anybody, any of my kids. So sometimes I feel, was that a mistake? that I was never harsh, I was never strict, I was never like a real father, the typical father. I was always a friend to everybody. And Sunita always tells me, I say, why are you constantly trying to be, a friend, And so I've just been a friend. I connect with everybody as a friend, not as a father. Yes, of course. There are times when these streaks do come out. Sometimes there is a time when I feel emotionally disturbed and vulnerable and angry. Mostly I'm a friend.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Does it feel like
I said the kind of person I am. It's
Mm.
it's the kind of person I am. Even with girls, I have more girlfriends than I've had boyfriends.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the company of women more than men?
Who doesn't?
I mean, facts. Facts. So even right now, you would say your friends are mostly, you get along mostly with women?
Yeah,
more
I
than
get
men?
along. I have few friends, but more from my school and in university but obviously then Sunita's my friend. She's my best friend. She's my best friend since 50 years.
I want to ask you about a word. Some people think it's a scary word. I don't think it's a scary word, but I'm curious on your take. What does the word feminism mean to you?
For me, always in my life, I think I have felt the girls are stronger, better than boys and men. So they said, people say they're equal. No, for me, they've always been better. That's why I think I'm more friendly. I've always been friendly. I feel they're the best thing to happen on this planet. The feminism, the vulnerability, the being a mother, being a daughter, being a friend, or not getting married, living on her own, being opinionated, fine. That's the way she's. What makes her happy makes her happy. If that makes that she's the way, the kind of person. As you said that, you're not married and you're happy, and I can see that's the reason you look so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people.
You've done so well for yourself.
Thank you. I always say, to me, feminism means choice. It means a woman has a choice.
So let them have a choice. It does for me. I don't focus so much on what I see them as a whole. And everything. It doesn't. So really, don't get into these things.
I think you do get into these things. I think through your work and through everything you're saying, you do get into these things, but I know the words can be scary. I think you do get into these things, but you mentioned you're a learner and you love learning and you love improving. What is the greatest lesson that your daughters have taught you?
They're teaching me every day. Both of them. And my wife, all three of them. They're correcting me. They're, something positive I learn from all of them, all three of them, every day, including my son. They've been wonderful, absolutely fantastic. There is something which is, I'm so blessed, I'm so fortunate to have them have them around me.
What have your daughters corrected you on? Give me an example.
Yeah.
Any of your roles, any of your choices,
choices, films sometimes, and sometimes what I wear, what I eat, how I behave, and what should I say, what should I speak, how should I, in every aspect. My parents never took me out for a vacation. I don't know what a vacation is. I never knew how to take a break, how to relax, how to chill, how to rest. They've taught me how to chill, how they relax. My son has taught me, my daughter, that how taking a break is important and rejuvenates me. I do take breaks. I sometimes, these are the things I've learned from them. It's not necessary that you have to constantly keep on moving and constantly keep on working. It's okay.
I'll give you one example of my dad. My dad's a Punjabi guy as well. Punjabi guy can be stuck in his ways sometimes, but when I was growing up, a bunch of my friends would always come over. It'd be a mix, girls, guys, we'd all come over. And we were in university, 20-something-year-old. And my dad would always do this thing where he would go to all the boys and he would go, Baglana, do you want a drink? Do you want to drink something? Drink something? Then he'd skip the girls and just go to the other guy. Do you want a drink? And I had to sit him down one day and be like, Dad, you have to ask everyone if they want a drink. Like, these 20-something-year-old girls do drink, offer it. And I was so impressed from that day, the next days moving forward, he would always ask, all the girls. There's just small things, small adjustments that he's made.
Yeah, I'm sure they've done that to me also, 100%. Not about drinking, but a lot of other things, yeah.
Very good, very good. You know, your daughters make a lot of really great films. I'm a big fan of a lot of the films that your daughters make. They always have really great messages, and they're different. You know, they're risky in the sense meaning that it's not conventional, it's not the traditional messaging. They really are stepping outside of the box. Do you ever get scared for them? And do you ever get told you're raising them to be too modern? Do you ever get any of that type of feedback?
No, I get the feedback, but I don't listen to them.
What kind of feedback do you get?
ये लड़कियों की फिल्म इतना बिजनेस नहीं करती. They don't do that much of business. It'd be difficult to sell the film. You know, how can you, what can you do as a father? Being a good father or being a good, supporter of, if anybody wants to pursue them, then you encourage them. I encourage them. I say, they're saying that, then definitely make it. And they are the only, and of course, I can proudly say that, the real syndrome of red carpet and the dressing up was obviously introduced by Riya and Sonam to this, this, in a way, I'm sure it must be there earlier, but really came out in the open with Sonam and Riya of dressing up. And we said, and anybody would say, fashion. I said, it's an art. Even fashion is an art. You know, it's the most thriving and the biggest business in the world. Why are you looking down about fashion? Now things have changed. I said, go on the front foot. Be aggressive about it. Be aggressive about it.
So when Riya writes a film or Sonam is part of a film and you know it's pushing boundaries a little bit, like Thank You for Coming, for example, are you ever concerned if this is going too far?
Yeah, of course. For Thank You for Coming, I was.
Does she listen to your feedback? Does she say, no, Dad, I don't need your opinion about this? Do you ask her to make adjustments or?
No, I said, she believes in it. I said, go ahead and do it. I said, it might become a huge success. It was chosen for the Toronto Film Festival. It was one of the main, we had the premiere over here. We got a lot of respect. She's very happy with the film.
And as a father, there's no feeling of when people are saying things. I know I love Thank You for Coming. I watched this movie. I've sat with the whole cast almost here, and they said, yeah, there were some opinions of people that didn't like the film. They said it was, why do you have to make a movie like this about this subject matter? So as a father,
female orgasm.
Yes, what would be your response to those people as a father? I'll tell you why. So I also recently had a sex comedy come out of my own that I'm the lead of.
I read about it.
When I posted about it, especially because people ask, what did your parents think? What did your parents think? A very interesting thing happened that I want your opinion on. A lot of comments said, it's one thing to show your mom the movie, but it's bad for you to show your dad the movie. People could not understand a daughter having these conversations with her dad.
You're asking the wrong person these questions, I swear.
No, I'm asking the absolute right person these
swear,
questions.
For me, when I watch something who has put a heart and soul into it, if the storytelling is right, and no matter what the subject is, how it is handled, how sensitive handled, how the people react to it. And there are times when critics pan the film and still it becomes a success. And sometimes it becomes a success, critics pan the film. So be it, Just enjoy the process, have fun, don't think too much about it, what the mothers feel and the fathers feel. You can't think about audience when you're doing something. You have to think about, of course you have to think, but it's more, how are you feeling? Did you enjoy doing the film? How's your process?
Amazing.
When Thank You for Coming, Karan's mother saw the film, obviously she was taken aback. She didn't speak to Karan for about 10 days. She couldn't handle it. But there were a lot of other girls and, girls loved the film. And a lot of people loved the film. But unfortunately, people have not seen the film because it just came and went, But I'm sure it'll stand the test of time in future when people see the film.
I mean, female sexuality is still so taboo, obviously in a lot of cultures, especially in Indian culture, but it doesn't seem to make you uncomfortable. Can I tell you my theory? It could be wrong. And I'm younger, so, you have every right in, especially Indian culture, to be like, you don't know what you're talking about, but here's my theory, okay? So you started by saying that you really wanted to be an actor, but your main thing was you wanted to make your dad proud. And then you said you missed out on being a father for a lot of your life because you wanted to provide. You wanted to make sure that you were there working hard, providing for your whole family.
Everybody.
Exactly. So your father, your family, everybody. And then you also said, I said, do you cry in front of your daughter? You said, no. And I said, why? You said, because that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for the family. Then I'd get too sensitive, I'd get too in my feelings, and that wouldn't be good for the family. So you've named every single person you do things for except yourself. You've not named yourself once throughout this entire conversation of, I did this for me.
And you know what the impression people have about me? That I am only for myself. That's the image I have.
I don't think that at all. I don't think you've done anything for yourself, actually. I think, because I've done so much work in this space, I think, and I say this with a complete love and respect, I think you are trapped in the mentality of being a provider. That's what I think.
So is it good or bad?
I think it can be good, and I think it can be bad. I think nothing is good or, no, there's no binary. I think
that's better. So do I pursue this or just, or do I continue being like this or I should change? I'm asking you. I will listen to youngsters.
Maybe. Here's what I think. I think that you feel a lot of pressure to do things for other people and provide for other people all the time. And I think it's beautiful to provide for other people. I think we all have an instinct to provide for people, but I do think it's really important in life to also be vulnerable and open up and talk about what you want. I feel like not once in this conversation have you said what you wanted or what was right for you. It was always about other people, you know? And so I feel like to love other people fully, you have to first fully love yourself and provide for yourself. That's just what I've taken from this conversation.
I think the same interview 30 years back would be different. Or 20 years or 40 years back would be different.
So?
Yeah, things have changed. You know, I'm changed as a person. I have grown as a person.
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest way you think you've grown from 30 years ago till now?
It's not about me now.
If you didn't owe anyone else in your life anything, you didn't owe your family, your dad, your community, me, nobody, I want you to answer this question without naming a single other person. That is the only rule. You're not allowed to name anyone else. What do you actually want? What makes you happy?
Seeing everybody happy.
No, that was the one rule. That was the one rule. You're not allowed to mention other people. As your new friend here, I'm telling you.
Well, at the moment?
Right now. We're friends now. You cannot name it. Don't tie it to anyone else.
A good coffee makes me happy.
Deeper.
A good meal makes me happy.
Okay.
A good smile makes me happy. Meeting a person who knows more than me and I learn from that person makes me happy. A good role makes me happy. Wife being nice to me, my wife Sunita being nice to me, and you know, and the way when I come back from work or from a meeting, how's the meeting? I say, I see her happy, makes me happy. My son is happy, it makes me happy. My friend is happy.
You're naming even more people now.
Yeah, my director. If I give a good shot, but if the film turns out well, and he says, I'm really happy. This is my best film of my career. It's really my best work. It makes me happy.
There's no right or wrong, so that's completely fine. Ask me the question.
Ask what?
Ask the same question back to me.
Why should I?
I want you.
I don't want to.
I'm gonna answer it anyways.
Yeah, then
I'm gonna answer it because you said you like to learn from younger people. I'm not right or there's no right or wrong.
Sorry. So what makes you happy?
Here's something that I'm gonna share with you, and you can take it or you can forget it. It's up to you. It is okay to do things just for yourself. I know that a lot of parents, my dad as well, was raised, anytime I ask my dad what makes you happy, he answers just like that about other people. My daughters, my this, there's food on the table, this.
We're old school.
I get, sure. But so I'm gonna tell you what makes me happy. What makes me happy is that I get to grow, that I get to make mistakes and learn from my mistakes and grow. What makes me happy is when my values and my actions are aligned, because that is a privilege as well. What makes me happy is feeling seen by people, where I don't have to pretend to be a certain way, but people just see me for who I am and I feel really, really seen. And what makes me happy is turning off when I don't have to be on all the time. You know, when I'm sad, I'm on, I'm providing for this person, doing this person, here for my team, here for this person, when I can just be off and taken care of and not have to take care of other people, that makes me really happy as well.
You're different from me.
We are different. Very good. Okay, we're gonna do a game now. We are gonna do a game now. It's gonna be a very quick game. So you can answer all the questions, and if some makes you uncomfortable, you can just donate to the charity. Cool? Or you can just give me your watch. Okay. Did you give your daughters the sex talk?
No,
Who did?
I'm sure my wife,
If they ever asked you a question about it today, would you talk to them about it?
of course.
Okay. Because you don't feel uncomfortable with female
No.
sexuality. I love that. Okay, good. And fathers in general shouldn't. It's a natural part of life. I feel like fathers shouldn't feel uncomfortable with it.
If they ask me, definitely, yeah, of course, I will.
Okay, good. Did you ever buy your daughters tampons, sanitary napkins, anything for their periods?
No.
If they asked you to do that, would you?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever given breakup advice to your daughters?
Always.
Really?
Yeah.
What's been your breakup advice? Are you good at mending a broken heart?
Yeah. Something better is going to happen.
Have you ever stopped them from wearing a revealing outfit and then regretted it?
No,
You don't care what they wear?
I don't care.
Do you ever secretly use their skincare? Yeah.
Of course I do. I used it last night because I was coming for your, I want to look, look
And
my
you
best.
do. And you look, your skin is glowing.
Glowing?
It's absolutely glowing, yes. When was the last time your daughter said to you, when was the last time Sonam said to you, Dad, that's problematic? You can't say that.
She always say that. Yeah, sometime or the other, yeah. I don't remember exactly, but she does. You can't say that.
Do you listen?
Yeah. But I still forget.
Okay. The last one. If your daughters ever wrote a book titled Growing Up with Anil Kapoor, what's the chapter title you're most scared of?
None.
None?
None.
Everything can be on the open.
Absolutely.
But thank you. I hope you had a good time talking with me. I hope I didn't bother you too much. I hope I didn't pick your brain too much. I actually do hope I picked your brain a lot.
No, I just enjoyed it.
Okay, you enjoyed it?
I'm just warming up.
You're just warming up?
I swear.
Okay, so we should start recording now?
Yeah.
This was just practice.
Yeah, I'm just warming up. Seriously, honestly.
But thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're very busy. I appreciate it. Pictures, and someone give me my phone. I'm here with Anil Kapoor, and he wants you to like and comment, yes, and subscribe to this channel. And if not, he's going to give you this face. Pa! If you don't subscribe, right?
Absolutely.